Good morning. Thank you for tuning in to Local News Live here on AOC Community Media. We do this program weekdays at 9 a.m. on AOC 1, Cypress Street Radio, as well as streaming live on our YouTube channel. And this is all brought to you by our wonderful volunteers. In the hot seat this morning is Bruce Cohen. Good morning, Bruce.
The hot seat?
The hot seat. It's like hot potato. No. Musical chairs.
Well, it actually feels pretty cool. It's my derriere, so I'm not feeling that hot seat. But I'm very, very happy to be here and read the news to the folks out there in our community. And I appreciate you being at the helm of the mechanical, technical stuff, and I appreciate that. So I will dig into the news here. Thank you, Mandy.
Thank you.
Well, good morning, Acadiana. It is Tuesday, November 24th, just a couple of days away from Thanksgiving 2020. And we'll start off with Lake Martin boat launch open for now. Continued access hinges on lawsuit between LDWF and landowners by Megan Wyatt. Boat launch Lake Martin quietly reopened over the weekend to recreational fishers, hunters, and photographers for the first time in nearly 9 months. It's a short-term win for the public, although continued access to the boat launch hinges on the outcome of a lawsuit between the Louisiana Department of Wildlife, or LDWF, and fisheries and private loan owners. That's a good positive move since St. Martin Parish President Chester Cedars, who has pushed for public access to be restored at the lake. I just hope that it stays that way long enough for the matter to be resolved. I'm hoping that wildlife and fisheries and the landowners will resolve this matter to the satisfaction of everybody, especially the public. On Friday, the state petitioned the 16th Judicial District Court for a temporary restraining order and preliminary injunction against the lawsuits. 11 defendants who are heirs to the property where the public boat launch is located. The harm the public suffers from being denied traditional access to Lake Martin is especially harsh during this time of COVID-19, when people most acutely need to maintain their favorite outdoor activities, the state argued. Even people who may not regularly have visited Lake Martin in the past now need access to the outdoor recreational activities available there as a reprieve from social distancing or a replacement for other activities. Ryan Alphonse Abbeville, one of the defendants who blocked access to the boat launch on March 1st, confirmed that he removed the barricades over the weekend, but otherwise declined to comment for the story. The Department of Wildlife and Fisheries has since asked the court to reset the preliminary injunction hearing, originally set for Tuesday morning to December 1st. Both parties are attempting to resolve the immediate matter of public access to the launch outside of court, the state wrote in a memo to the court. ABR and other property owners have previously voiced concerns over liability at the landing. Although protected under Louisiana's recreational use immunity statute, landowners along Lake Martin have said their immunity has seemed murkier since the 2019 court ruling in favor of a business operating in an area long ago designated as a public right-of-way. That case came to an end earlier this month after the Louisiana Supreme Court declined to hear it. Activities known as the Friends of Lake Martin pressured the state and parish to file a lawsuit, but the Department of Wildlife and Fisheries had been hesitant to take any action while the other lawsuit worked its way through the court system. The state filed the suit just days after the earlier lawsuit came to an end. Now the Friends of Lake Martin are asking the parish and state to work together to reestablish a governing authority at the lake that incorporates guidelines outlined in the 2001 Lake Martin Master Plan. We think that new and positive steps are needed now on the part of the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries and St. Mountain Parish government in order to assure the long-term viability and quality of the lake as a local area resource of great importance, the nonprofit organization said in a statement. Saturday marked the opening of duck hunting season in Louisiana. Normally, the Lake Martin boat launch would have been busy with activity, especially during favorable weather, but few people realized it had to reopen. Even Cedars, who was involved in the 2019 lawsuit as parish president, wasn't aware the launch had reopened until contacted by a reporter Monday morning for this story. While the public can once again access Lake Martin via the boat launch, another problem remains: a lack of parking. Recreational boaters usually park vehicles and trailers along the unpaved land adjacent to the boat launch, but the private landowners have situated barricades so that only the launch is accessible. Other stakeholders at Lake Martin, including lakeside property owners and tour boat operators, have responded favorably to the state's lawsuit, although some are also hoping for a secondary lawsuit or court opinion to clarify things beyond the boat launch property. The public boat launch was constructed more than 50 years ago on private property with taxpayer funds through a mutual agreement that allowed the state and public access to the lake via the property. The boat launch isn't just popular for those with motorboats and tour boat operations, it's also popular among kayakers. Although a makeshift kayak launch exists along another lakeside property, it is less accessible than the public boat launch. The rustic launch, located about a quarter mile from the road, requires some skill to use and has no designated parking. A kayak is not an easy vessel to board compared to flat-bottom boats, said Butch Ridgedale, who has served as a kayak tour guide for years at Lake Martin, in a deposition for the state. Like a canoe, a kayak can tip over easily, and it's therefore easier to launch a kayak from a dock, since the kayaker can hold on to the dock while boarding the kayak. Boat launch closure also impacted the bottom line for those who offer gifted tour or guided tours of Lake Martin, according to court records. John Williams, owner of Pack and Paddle, said in a deposition that he's had to severely limit offerings at the lake this year because of the boat launch closure, paired with difficulty of the Nature Conservancy launch and lack of parking. He said it's also robbed locals and tourists of the opportunity to experience the lake's natural beauty, serenity, and security. This lake is the best place in Acadiana for kayaking, canoeing, and similar enjoyments of nature, Williams said. It allows people to get the swamp experience without having to go to the Chapalaya, which can be much more intimidating and dangerous. Super One stores offer COVID-19 vaccine. Upon approval, pharmacy to give a shot at no cost by Adam Daigle. The owner of the Super One food stores in Acadiana says its pharmacies will offer COVID-19 vaccination at no cost to the patient once it gets approval and is available for distribution. Texas-based Brookshire Grocery Company says it has joined the federal government's Operation Warp Speed effort and will administer a vaccine to the public at no cost as part of its effort to serve its communities, company officials said in an announcement on Monday. The company is one of several independent retailers across the country participating in the effort. Our company is committed to supporting our communities and providing for our customers' daily and essential needs, said Brad Brookshire, chairman and CEO for Brookshire Grocery Company. We are proud to participate in the plan to increase access to COVID-19 vaccines to best serve our communities. Our pharmacy team is actively enrolling with each state in order to be ready to safely administer vaccines when available. We care about our neighbors and are committed to doing what we can to lessen the impact of COVID-19. Partnering with large chain pharmacies and networks of independent pharmacies to distribute the vaccine once one is available. About 60% of the pharmacies in the country have signed on, federal officials said, representing 50 states, the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. Many pharmacy staffers are trained to provide immunizations and are already important immunizers in their community, federal officials said. By working with these partners, the federal government will rapidly expand access to COVID-19 vaccines at no cost to patients. The vast majority of Americans live within 5 miles of a pharmacy, HHS Secretary Alex Azar said. Our new agreement with pharmacy partners across America is a critical step toward making sure all Americans have access to safe and effective COVID-19 vaccines when they are available. Super One Foods has 13 stores in Acadiana, including 2 stores in Lafayette, 1 in Cameron, Scott, and Youngsville. A new leash on life. Lafayette Animal Shelter reaches total no-kill status by Claire Lyon and Nikhil Mistretti. While Lafayette businesses continue to face varying restrictions during COVID-19, a local animal shelter has reached a consistent total no-kill status. The Lafayette Animal Shelter and Care Center witnessed its highest live outcome percentage for animals during the pandemic. To be no-kill, a shelter must be above 90% live outcome, according to Lynn Bork, the adoption rescue and foster supervisor for the shelter. Live outcome refers to the number of animals leaving a facility by means other than euthanasia or in-shelter death, according to the Association of Shelter Veterinarians. In response to state restrictions and a mandated lockdown back in March, Bork said the shelter expected an increase in surrendered animals during that temporary closure. We expected a lot of pets to be surrendered due to the fear of the possible exposure of COVID from pets to humans, but the total opposite occurred. We had a few pets surrendered to the shelter, but the adoption numbers, that is the greatest thing that changed, Bork said. Animals are surrendered or given to shelters when their owners cannot continue to provide care to the animal for any financial, behavioral, or other reason, according to the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Since the beginning of the pandemic, citizens in Acadiana rallied behind the shelter and provided care to the animals through adoptions or foster services, according to Bork. The increase in animals leaving the facility led to a live outcome of over 90%, allowing the shelter to obtain a no-kill status. Bork said as long as the shelter can maintain numbers over 90%, only sick and injured animals will be euthanized. When live outcome percentages dropped, according to the shelter's Facebook page, it was due to 2 factors: no-kill promotions bringing in more surrendered animals, and a higher rate of animals entering the shelter in spring due to breeding patterns. In 2015, the shelter had a live outcome percentage of 28%, according to the Facebook page. Bork says she considers a 5-year jump to be an achievement for a government-operated shelter, which must accept all cats and dogs surrendered to it. I guess people were home and found it was a good time to help a pet. Those who wanted to adopt figured they would be home for the next few weeks. It was a perfect time for them to do so, Bork said. Bork also said the shelter staff were amazed by the community's response and participation in the foster program. Jenny Meadows, a part-time adoption and foster worker at LASCC, said the shelter provides all food, medicine, and other supplies necessary for fostering an animal. People who foster pets are allowed to adopt the animal and make it an official part of the family. It's kind of our goal, wanting to make sure the home is a good fit for the animal, Meadows said. Adopted pets from the shelter are spayed, neutered, microchipped, vaccinated, and medicated if necessary, according to Meadows. Bork says she wants people to avoid surrendering pets by giving the community ideas on how to rehome a pet or find a solution for the pet to stay in their home. Bringing a pet to a shelter should be a last resort, Bork said. The less animals that are brought in, the less animals we have to find homes for. To maintain a no-kill status, LASCC plans to open a new shelter in April, according to Bork. The new shelter will help us reach out to more people. No one wants to come to a kill shelter. No one wants to come to an old shelter, seeing pets in cages, Bork said. She said the new shelter will provide a more spacious and less stressful environment for the animals. Lafayette is in for something good, and the animals are in for something great, Bork said. All right, it's almost 1:15, so I'm going to read a couple of public service announcements for you this morning. Vitalant, urgent need for blood donations. Blood and platelet donations often drop during the holiday months as fewer donors are available because of seasonal activities and illnesses. But this year, the outlook is particularly worrisome with the pandemic and COVID-19. With many schools transitioned to virtual learning and businesses in work-from-home situations, about 1,600 Vitalant blood drives have already been canceled for November and December. Excuse me. Currently, there is an urgent need for O-negative blood, the universal blood type that all patients can receive. O-negative donors can maximize their impact by giving a power red donation. We encourage donors to make an appointment by visiting Vitalant.org or by calling 877-25-VITAL, VITAL. And that's Vitalant, VITALANT.org. And again, the phone number 877-25-VITAL. Excuse me. The BBB announces a Thanksgiving food drive as Acadiana looks to enjoy cooler weather in the holiday season, starting with Thanksgiving. It is important to remember our community during these trying times. As part of their impact initiative, the Better Business Bureau serving Acadiana is hosting a food drive through November 30th. Food donations can be dropped off to the BB office at 4003 West Congress Street in Lafayette and will be given to the Second Harvest Food Bank in their efforts to end hunger. The BBB team will pick up donations if requested. Second Harvest's suggested donation items include non-perishable foods and supplies, preferably in non-glass containers. These items include grains such as cereal, pasta, rice and flour, evaporated and dry milk, cooking oils, canned fruits and vegetables, dried fruits, proteins including canned meats, dried beans and peanut butter, coffee, paper products, diapers, and cleaning products. Okay, heading back into the news, the UL program honored by SPJ Journalism Group, a top campus department. The Society of Professional Journalists have named Eastern Kentucky University and the University of Louisiana Lafayette as this year's recipients of the Campus Program of the Year Award. UL took 7 students and 1 professor to the National Institute of Computer Assistant Reporters 2020 conference in New Orleans, presented in connection with the investigative reporters and editors for an opportunity to network with professionals and attend data-centered panels to enhance the skills they have learned and learn new ones. Their SPJ president also created the Cypress Lake Wire service to inform the public on issues within the community, and SPJ members submitted articles for the website. Eastern Kentucky used the tradition of homecoming to work with Eastern Progress, the Student Media Network, and the Department of Communications to engage with students, faculty, alumni, and the community on a special issue they called a throwback to alumni from 1960 to the present. Students spoke to former members of the Progress staff who entered the industry or used their skills to move successfully into other careers. This is the second year in a row Eastern Kentucky has won this award. These honorees were chosen from a select group of campus chapters for their outstanding work in supporting the Society's missions, members, and journalism. Each year, SPJ's 12 regional coordinators and directors select a campus program in their region that has shown overall excellence. Campus Program of the Year finalists this year are Region 2, University of Maryland, Region 2, Western Carolina University, Region 3, Florida International University, Region 5, Eastern Kentucky University, Region 8, Texas A&M University in San Antonio, and Region 12, the University of Louisiana Lafayette. The winners and finalists were announced and recognized virtually Thursday night at the first SPJ Student Summit. The event featured a keynote from social media guru David Jorgensen, the self-proclaimed Washington Post TikTok guy, and was emceed by SPJ National President Matthew T. Hall and SPJ Board Member and Journalism Education Committee Chair Yvette Walker. Okay, moving on. In our crime blotter this morning, and this is compiled by Advocate Staff Reports, 2 killed in an all-terrain vehicle crash in Iberia. 2 people were killed in a crash involving an all-terrain vehicle in New Iberia on Saturday, according to the Iberia Parish Sheriff's Office. About 5:30 p.m. Sunday, deputies responded to a report of a vehicle accident in the 7400 block of Danielle Road. Deputies learned a utility terrain vehicle ran off the sugarcane headland and into a drainage ditch embankment. The Sheriff's Office said the occupants, Renee Landry Hoffpower and Chad Stansbury, both 53, died at the scene. The investigation is ongoing. Deputies looking for a man who followed a teen. Lafayette Parish Sheriff's Office is asking for help in identifying a driver who followed a teenage girl. A 14-year-old was jogging about 5:30 p.m. Sunday in the 2700 block of Robley Drive when she noticed a truck following her, deputies said. The teen turned into a nearby neighborhood, but the truck continued to follow her. The driver got closer, rolled down his window, and attempted to talk to her. When the man unbuckled his seatbelt, the teen quickly ran away through a nearby field. The man is described as 45 to 60 years old, colored in gray hair. His face was unshaven with mostly gray stubble, and he was wearing a Go Army hat. He was driving a full-size silver or gray two-door truck. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Lafayette Parish Sheriff's Office at 337-236-5895 and the Lafayette Crime Stoppers at 337-232-8477 or submit a tip on the Sheriff's Office app. Suspect arrested in shooting in Motel 6. Abbeville police said 18-year-old Keenan Willis was arrested Sunday in an October 17 shooting in Motel 6. Willis was booked on a warrant for attempted second-degree murder, as well as counts of illegal possession of a stolen firearm, obstruction of justice, and possession of a firearm by a person convicted of certain felonies. Willis was convicted this year of simple robbery. Police say the shooting is still under investigation. One person was struck by a bullet and was treated at a hospital for injuries that were not life-threatening. Moving back into state news, agency partners with Safe Haven to help struggling parents. Hotline to offer crisis counseling by Jacqueline D. Roberts. A new hotline will counsel Louisiana parents who fear they are unable to properly care for a newborn in hopes of saving more babies from abandonment. The state's Safe Haven law allows parents to legally and safely relinquish a newborn to the state if the child is no older than 60 days and does not show signs of abuse or neglect. Not everyone knows about the law or other alternatives, and a standard Child Protective Services hotline is not necessarily sufficient. So the Department of Children and Family Services and the National Safe Haven Alliance are offering a 24-hour confidential hotline staffed by a team trained in crisis response. Heather Berner, Executive Director of NSHA, said there is a range of options for struggling parents, like continuing to care for their child, a planned adoption, or relinquishment. But there is not a single solution that works for every family. The focus is on keeping babies safe while supporting their families. We should be in a culture in which we are supporting women and parents rather than just telling them where they can drop their baby off, she said. Safe Haven legislation was passed after national highly publicized instances of infant abandonment in the early 2000s, according to Mona Michelli, Deputy Assistant Secretary for Child Welfare at DCFS. These stories where a baby is found in a dumpster or on a doorstep or in a field many times ends in the death of the child, Berner said. While the Safe Haven law ideally prevents this scenario from happening, advocates worry not enough parents are informed about both the law's existence and the process involved. Parents can give their newborn to a caretaker in any Safe Haven designated site, a hospital licensed by the state, a manned fire station and law enforcement station, a child advocacy center, and various medical clinics and health centers, or they can call 911 and allow emergency personnel to come to them to retrieve the baby. Lloyd Miller, who oversees the Safe Haven program, said that 70 babies were relinquished between 2004, when DCFS implemented the law, and the end of 2019. That might not seem like a huge number, Michelli said, but the process may have saved many of those babies' lives. Berner said there is a misunderstanding in the public that people seeking to surrender their children don't care about the babies or are trying to get rid of them. Honestly, most of the women we deal with love their baby. She said many have been assaulted, they've been abused, they've hidden their pregnancy because they're terrified of people finding out. They're not able to care for this child, but they do love their baby. In some cases, parents want to continue to parent their child but feel unable to go for a number of reasons. If they call the hotline, team members will guide them through a series of questions designed to support them and discover the best options for them moving forward. In one recent case, a woman called the hotline from a van parked outside of a safe haven drop-off location, Berner said. Her baby was about and she had nowhere to go. She had lost her job because of COVID, ultimately lost her home, lost everything, and was now here in this desperate situation with a newborn, Berner said. The woman had called to ask how to relinquish her baby, but in talking to the staff, admitted to keep her infant if she had a place to live so she could keep her child safe. The team found her lodging in a shelter within hours, and she's now transitioning into an apartment. Other times, the team may find a temporary placement option for a parent who plans to reunite with their child after, for example, going through a detox program. And in other cases, the hotline helps parents understand the adoption process. They may call intending to surrender their infant, but end up entering into a planned and voluntary adoption arrangement, which Berner says grants them more access to their child and the potential to experience their child's life as they grow up. Without this option, parents will lose all contact with their baby. Safe haven is ideally a last resort, said Michelli with DCFS. What's preferable is a planned adoption where there can be no more sharing or information, but if that's not possible, this is what it's for. If a parent continues to want to go the safe haven route, the team will coach them through what to expect and even call ahead to the facility they plan to use to prepare personnel to accept the baby. They also provide support to the parent after the process is over. That child is then medically assessed and taken into DCFS custody before the agency places them with a foster parent that's also certified as an adoptive parent. It's a bittersweet thing when a mother uses safe haven, Berner said. Most of the time they love their child, they're just not in a position to be able to parent. But it's a beautiful thing to see a family that has no idea they were going to get a phone call, and they get this call saying, we have a baby for you. If interested, you can call 1-888-5110-BABY. That's 1-888-510-2229, or text Safe Haven to 313131 for more information. Okay, let's see if there's one more story before we go to our day in history and the zodiac or horoscope, as I refer to it, and the funerals in the Kittiana area today. Let's see how long the story is. Okay, well, read one more story before we take a break and read the day in history and the zodiac and the funerals in the Kittiana area for today. State chooses contractor for widening I-10 in Baton Rouge. Construction will be done in phases and begin in 2020 by Will Centel. State officials said Monday they had picked a contractor to handle the first phase of the widening of often congested Interstate 10 between LA Highway 415 and West Baton Rouge Parish and the I-10-I-12 split. The work will be done by Kiewat Ball, a joint venture, and one of three firms that submitted qualifications to the State Department of Transportation and Development. Construction is set to start in late 2020, late 2022, and take at least 6 years to complete. We are in late 2020. The overhaul is being financed with federal bonds, with the state repaying the money by using a portion of its annual allocation of federal aid. The bonds are allowing the state to launch a major project in Baton Rouge despite a $14 billion backlog of road and bridge needs and a state gas tax that has remained unchanged for the past 30 years. The corridor was built in the 1960s to handle around 80,000 cars and trucks per day, more than twice that number rely on that section of the interstate daily, which is a key reason it is a site of near daily backups. More than 200,000 vehicles per day will be using the corridor daily by 2032, not long after the first phase is set for completion. This is an historic development for the progress and growth of Baton Rouge, the likes of which we haven't seen since the initial construction of the interstate system DOTT Secretary Sean Wilson said in a statement. State officials, alongside the work, will total $360 million. Wilson said Monday $360 million is what the state is borrowing initially, with more planned in future years after roughly half of the first debt is paid off. Okay, and now we will go to our day in history. Today is Tuesday, November 24th, the 329th day of 2020. There are 37 days, potential shopping days left in the year. Today's highlight in history on November 24th, 1859, British naturalist Charles Darwin published On the Origin of Species, which explained his theory of evolution by means of natural selection. On this date in 1865, Mississippi became the first southern state to enact laws which came to be known as Black Codes, aimed at limiting the rights of newly freed Black people. Other states of the former Confederacy soon followed. In 1963, Jack Ruby shot and mortally wounded Lee Harvey Oswald, the accused assassin of President John F. Kennedy, in a scene captured on live television. And as a personal note, on that Sunday in 1963, my mom was getting remarried to my longtime dad, and we sat and watched that take place on television. In 1971, a hijacker calling himself Dan Cooper, but who became popularly known as D.B. Cooper, parachuted from a Northwest Orient Airlines 727 over the Pacific Northwest after receiving $200,000 in ransom. His fate remains unknown. In 1974, the bone fragments of the 3.2 million old hominid were discovered by scientists in Ethiopia. The skeletal remains were nicknamed Lucy. 1985, the hijacking of an Egyptair jetliner parked on the ground in Malta ended violently as Egyptian commandos stormed the plane. 58 people died in the raid, in addition to 2 others killed by the hijackers. 1987, the United States and the Soviet Union agreed on terms to scrap shorter and medium range. The Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty was signed by President Ronald Reagan and Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev the following month. 1995, voters in Ireland narrowly approved the constitutional amendment legalizing divorce. In the year of 2000, the U.S. Supreme Court stepped into the bitter overtime struggle for the White House, agreeing to consider George W. Bush's appeal against the hand recounting of ballots in Florida. In 2014, it was announced that a grand jury in St. Louis County, Missouri, had decided against indicting Ferguson police officer Darren Wilson in the death of Michael Brown. The decision arranged protesters to set fire to buildings and cars and looted businesses in the area where Brown had been fatally shot. 10 years ago, a jury in Austin convicted former U.S. Majority Leader Tom DeLay, Republican from Texas, on charges he illegally funneled corporate money to Texas candidates in 2002. DeLay's convictions were overturned on appeal. 5 years ago, in a shadow of Western solidarity, President Barack Obama and French President Francois Hollande met at the White House, where they vowed to escalate airstrikes against the Islamic State and bolster intelligence sharing following the deadly attacks in Paris. 1 year ago, billionaire and former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg formally launched a Democratic bid for president. Bloomberg would end his campaign in early March. Looking at some of the birthdays today, Basketball Hall of Famer Oscar Robertson is 82. Rock drummer Pete Best is 79. He was the original drummer in the Silver Beatles, as they were known before they became the Beatles. Actor-comedian Billy Connolly is 78. Former White House Press Secretary Marlon Fitzwater is 78. Former Congressman and Motion Picture Association of America Chairman Dan Glickman is 76. Singer Lee Michaels is 75. Actor Stanley Livingston is 70 years old today. Rock musician Clem Burke from Blondie and the Romantics is 66. Actor Denise Crosby is 63. Actor, comedian Brad Sherwood is 56. And rock musician Chad Taylor from the group Live is 50 years old today. Okay, looking at the zodiac. Sagittarius, keeping busy will boost your morale and help clear your head. Be diplomatic, but don't let anyone talk you into doing or believing something unwise. Capricorn, you get an added push that will help you take care of time spent with a loved one, will improve your relationship. Make adjustments to your domestic and professional spaces. Aquarius, use your charm, experience, and energy to get where you want to go. A chance to get ahead financially is within reach, so capitalize on it. Pisces, compliments will come your way, but before you fall prey to someone's charm, consider if there are ulterior motives at play. Verify facts and stick to tried and true methods. Aries, pick up the pace that follow through with your plans, or refuse to let anyone or anything upset you. Stay focused on what's important and put your energy in preparing for the future. And going back to Pisces, that's tried and true methods, not tired and true methods. Taurus, embrace new beginnings and exciting challenges. Push yourself to the limit and make improvements that build confidence and encourage you to go after what you want. Gemini, helping others will benefit you as well. Get involved in something you care about. Don't shy away from adversity. Stand up and be counted. Part of the solution, not part of the problem. Cancer, look for a creative outlet or do something you've always wanted to do but never had the time or the confidence to pursue. Pour your energy into something that will help you grow. Leos, soul searching will lead to an effective plan. Refuse to let anyone else make up your mind for you. A change may not be welcome, but it will be to your advantage. Virgo, my birth sign. Take action, get involved. Positive change will result. Make slight adjustments to ensure that you continue to excel. A change to how you do things will pay off. Libra, don't let anyone take advantage of you or put you in an awkward position. Diplomacy will help you outmaneuver anyone who gets in your way. Set a goal and finish what you start. And finally, Scorpio. Uncertainty will prevail if you aren't vocal about your feelings and wants. Positive change will be the direct result of how you handle others. An adjustment to a relationship will benefit both parties. And as always, a horoscope is an entertainment feature and is not based on scientific fact. Looking at the funerals today in the Kenneana area, Nathaniel Hoffpower, E.C. Ferguson Funeral Home at 301 North Avenue F and Crowley at 2 p.m., and Dorothy Manuel at Sacred Heart Catholic Church at 2 p.m. Okay, getting back into the news. Louisiana native to be U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations by Mike Ballard, Capitol Bureau Editor. President-elect Joe Biden on Monday tapped a Baker native and LSU alumni Linda Thomas Greenfield as a U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations. She had served as Ambassador to Liberia under President George W. Bush and Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs under President Barack Obama. The post as a U.S.'s representative to the world's body is one of the highest profile posts in American government. Her predecessors include Adlai Stevenson, George H.W. Bush, and Madeleine Albright. Unlike most of her predecessors, Thomas Greenfield has 35 years of service in the U.S. Foreign Service, including assignments in Jamaica, Nigeria, Gambia, Kenya, Pakistan, Switzerland, and Liberia. She was in Rwanda in 1994 when genocide broke out and was held at gunpoint until she convinced her attackers that she was an American. She was also the top State Department official in charge of African policy during the Ebola crisis. Within her Foreign Service career, she has spent more than a decade working on refugee and migration issues. Thomas Greenfield left the service in 2017. She will bring a diverse perspective and unique experience to the cabinet, which will be invaluable to the president-elect and his national security and foreign policy team, the Biden transition team emailed in a prepared statement. Thomas Greenfield's selection also suggests that Biden's administration is poised to give Africa more attention than had been the case during the Trump administration. This appointment is an indication that we're going to think of them as a whole lot of countries, said Leo C. Hamilton, a college friend of Thomas Greenfield Greenfield, who is now a partner in a large Baton Rouge law firm. We're going to be much more concerned with their future and how much their future is entwined with our future. Going back, this was a statement made earlier by the current administration that some countries were S-holes countries. Hamilton was a member of Harambee, an African-American student group at LSU during the early 1970s, when he and Thomas Greenfield were among the first wave of African-American students at the previously all-white school. Hamilton recalls that Black students weren't welcomed on a campus whose student body included white supremacist David Duke and fraternity members who openly harassed minorities. The group arranged civil rights demonstrations on campus and marched to the state capitol. Thomas Greenfield took part, he recalled. After earning his degree in 1974, Thomas Greenfield went to the University of Wisconsin for a master's degree, then taught at Bucknell University in Pennsylvania before joining the Foreign Service in 1982. Thomas Greenfield recalled her leaving Louisiana upon accepting in 2012 Louisiana Public Broadcasting's Louisiana Legends Award. While I left there in 1974, I raced away from Louisiana because Louisiana at that time, for me, was a place where I wasn't sure this was a place where I wanted to make my life. And I was surprised years later when I kept racing back to Louisiana and referring to Louisiana as home, she said. Thomas Greenfield grew up near the now closed Leland College, an historically Black institution in Baker. She was the first person in her family to graduate high school, Northwestern High School in Zachary in 1970, where she was a member of the first desegregated class. Her parents never made it past 3rd and 8th grade. This lady works extremely hard, said then Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice before giving the oath in 2008, making Thomas Greenwood ambassador to Liberia. Wherever there is hard work to be done, Linda is there. The assignment was crucial for the United States. Liberia was emerging from 14 years of civil war after President George W. Bush sent 20,000 Marines in 2003 to push out Liberia's strongman, Charles Taylor, who was accused of orchestrating 20,000 deaths in the country. The country was governed by Africa's first female president, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, who was elected in 2006. During their 4 years of gumbo diplomacy, Thomas Greenwood was named an honorary citizen of Liberia. The country, founded by free American slaves in 1820, at the time of her posting, still lacked electricity through the country and had an unemployment rate of 80% prior to the 2020 presidential election. Thomas Greenfield wrote a guest column in The Advocate about the power of voting. I've been saying Greenwood, and that's been in the paper, but it's Greenfield. By all accounts, Thomas Greenfield is an engaging conversationalist with demeanor so down home that people unaware of her resume wouldn't peg her as a seasoned diplomat. One of the foreign students she befriended during her LSU days was Dr. Albert L. Agard, originally from Guyana, but now of Houston. When he visited her on a business trip to Liberia, the talk was about the good old days and whatever happened to so-and-so. He was invited to Thanksgiving dinner at the ambassador's mansion overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. He recalls a traditional Creole meal with crawfish stuffing, but also cassava greens cooked like spinach and as a favorite in Liberia. But she missed red beans, Agard said. Okay, moving on. Court for Louisiana and Texas can cut funding for Planned Parenthood by Kevin McGill, Associated Press, out of New Orleans. A federal appeals court ruled Monday that Texas and Louisiana can cut off Medicaid funding to Planned Parenthood clinics, a move supported by opponents of abortion, but opposed by advocates who said it affects a variety of non-abortion health services for low-income women. The ruling was handed down by the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in New Orleans. While it expressively reversed decisions in Texas and Louisiana, it also affects Mississippi, which is under 5th Circuit jurisdiction. The issue is likely to go next to the U.S. Supreme Court. Opponents of abortion have long sought to deny federal Medicaid funding for Planned Parenthood clinics. Abortion rights supporters and advocates for women's health have argued that the money would reduce access for low-income women seeking cancer screenings, birth control, and other non-abortion-related health services, even in states where Planned Parenthood clinics didn't perform abortions. The decision by the full Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in New Orleans reverses an early ruling by a three-judge appellate panel that blocked Texas from enforcing its ban on Medicaid funding of Planned Parenthood, and also expressly reversed a ruling in a separate case blocking Louisiana from banning Planned Parenthood funding. A three-judge panel in 2015 had ruled against the ban, and that decision stood when the full court deadlocked 7-7 in 2017 when there were only 14 active judges on the court. In dissent, Judge James Dennis wrote that the ruling conflicts with other circuits' decisions and will leave millions of people in Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi, which falls into Fifth Circuit's jurisdiction, vulnerable to unlawful state interference with their choice of healthcare providers. The Texas and Louisiana defunding efforts followed the release by anti-abortion activists of secretly recorded videos in 2015. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton applauded Monday's ruling, saying the videos showed Planned Parenthood was guilty of morally bankrupt and unlawful conduct. Planned Parenthood did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Task Force pushes equality and inclusion, leaders overhauling Louisiana economic development by Kristen Mossbrucker. Social equity and inclusion are overarching themes in a task force report with recommendations ranging from creation of new positions with state government to reforming existing economic incentive programs to include more small businesses. Dozens of leaders across the state met remotely for more than 6 months to discuss how Louisiana's economy could become more resilient. The report was released to Governor John Bel Edwards on Friday. The final report includes feedback from more than 300 residents and leaders on 15 different task forces appointed by the governor to tackle issues stemming from the coronavirus pandemic and beyond. Other ideas include relocation incentives to target remote workers and incentives for small businesses to complete retrofitting of brick-and-mortar locations to curb the spread of the coronavirus, along with tax credits for businesses to buy personal protective equipment or PPE for employees. This was even the suggestion of guidelines for employers to curb the spread of infectious diseases without disclosing public health information. And healthcare representatives want to see public-private partnerships to tackle chronic diseases, among other investments such as healthy food and access to recreational locations. Spike in new employment claims in mid-November, a mystery by Kristen Mossbrucker. New unemployment claims in Louisiana shot up for an unknown reason, led by real estate, rental, and leasing services for the week ending November 14th, Louisiana Workforce Commission data released on Monday. The report shows first-time jobless claims surging to 43,618 across the state last week, compared to 10,045 filed the week before. New unemployment claims haven't reached such a high since early May, as pandemic-related lockdowns took a toll on employment, according to the state data submitted to the federal government without comment. Hopefully it's a clerical error, said Angela Fitzgerald, the Baton Rouge Area Chamber's Senior Director of Business Intelligence and economist, who's been closely monitoring local and statewide data during the coronavirus pandemic for weekly chamber reports. I don't think there's a strong argument that people are committing fraud here, he said, but he did note that the federal government had issued a warning in May that suggests that states could be vulnerable to fraud attempts. The Louisiana Workforce Commission did not respond to requests for comment. State school superintendents asked for looser quarantine rules by Melinda Deslate. Leaders of several Louisiana public school systems called on state officials Monday to relax coronavirus quarantine rules that have sent thousands of students home from school because they have been in close proximity to someone who tested positive for COVID-19. The state health officials said they aren't recommending any changes to the quarantine regulations as Louisiana sees its third spike in coronavirus cases, with hospitals cautioning they are concerned the latest surge will overwhelm their facilities. School superintendents from Ascension, West Baton Rouge, Rapides, and Livingston parishes told lawmakers that too many students are missing in-person classroom instruction because they have been sent home for 14 days of quarantine. We have a lot of healthy kids who are home when they don't need to be, West Baton Rouge Parish Superintendent Wesley Watts told the House Health Committee. We're not asking to do away with quarantine, we're just asking for some modifications. That argument has been persuading the Louisiana Department of Health, which helped to set the school quarantines based on advice from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Okay. The crew of Bacchus goes high-tech ahead of 2021 Carnival. Virtual parades will take place each Sunday of the season via a new app by Doug McCash. What will the 2021 Bacchus Parade be like? There's an app for that. The 1,600-member crew of Bacchus, known for its extravagant parade on the Saturday before Mardi Gras, isn't able to take to the streets next year because of the ongoing coronavirus contagion. But in a news conference at the Crew Den on Monday, Captain Clark Brennan announced that the 51-year-old organization has conceived a digital substitute for its in-person parade. In a newly developed app called Throw Me Something Bacchus, Carnival lovers will be able to see images of passing floats, create a parade-going avatar, listen to marching bands, hear from past celebrity monarchs, and catch digital throws. The app was conceived by Bacchus board member George Schifanio and developed in the past months by app designer Jason DeVilliers. Schifanio, an information technology professional, said he had long hoped to produce an app that would bring the Bacchus experience to people who are unable to attend New Orleans parades in person and to enhance the experience for those who could. The app was already well into development when it became clear that the coronavirus would not permit live parades in 2021. So Schifanio and DeVilliers quickly adapted the design to fit current needs. The app will be available on January 6th, the traditional start of Carnival, and virtual parades will take place each Sunday of the season through February 14th, when the actual Bacchus 2020 parade had been scheduled to roll. Okay, let's see. Okay, LSU Ag Center garden news. Palms are great in the landscape, but new diseases are killing them. Heather Kirk Ballard. If you want a tropical look in your landscape, palm trees can provide it. There are many types of plants that are easy to grow in well-drained soils and full sunlight. They do not tolerate extended periods of cold. Here in South Louisiana, we have several hardy palm trees for which to choose from. Native palms include cabbage palm, dwarf palmetto, needle palm, saw palmetto, and Texas palmetto. Some non-native plants that do well here are the Chinese fan palm, Chinese windmill palm, lady palm, Mediterranean fan palm, and queen palm. Palm tree availability may be limited in some areas, so check with local nurseries to find out what they carry. Palms can be expensive, especially for larger specimens. Larger trees can be purchased as balls or burlapped, requiring equipment to move them, and some are available in containers, making them easier for homeowners to transport and plant. Okay. Judge hears arguments in LSU's records case. Well, it's almost 9:55. I'll briefly read through this, and then we have a sports story. Judge shares arguments in LSU records case. No ruling issued on police reports by Andrew Gallo. Over objections by LSU's attorneys from LSU student Samantha Brennan testified in court Monday that former star football player Darius Geis's name is lurking beneath the redactions in 2016 reports that she filed with University Police. 19th Judicial District Judge Janice Clark heard testimony from Brennan on Monday. during a court hearing over LSU's refusal to provide full and unredacted police reports involving the Geist incident to both Brennan and USA Today. But Clark issued no ruling, requesting instead that each side submit briefs in 7 days before she announces a decision. Before I read a bit more of this article, I just want to say it is now 9:55, which means our audio broadcast of the news will terminate on our TV stations. But if you want to continue to listen to this morning's broadcast, you can go to two places. You can go to our online streaming service, which is Cypress Street Radio. That's CYPRESS Street Radio. Go to your browser, just put in Cypress Street Radio. The homepage will come up, click the play button. Or you can listen to us on YouTube at our channel, which is AOC Community Media. Okay, LSU and USA Today clashed over several issues, including how best to balance the privacy of someone whose name appears in a police report with the public's right to know about campus-related incidents. They also disagreed over whether an NFL player like Geist had so much right to privacy as an anonymous citizen, and whether the statute of limitations for pursuing a criminal case should govern when the police release an investigative file. Brennan testified over Zoom that she spent several days in August trying to receive her police reports from the LSU Police Department, but only received a brief initial report after she requested it and overnighted a $5 check to the police department. After she repeatedly asked how she can get her full file, LSU police punted her request to LSU's legal team, she said. That didn't lead to her getting the records. She said she spoke by phone with Joanna Posada, LSU's assistant general counsel, and said Posada told her there's no way for me to get my file until the statute of limitations was up. A statute of limitations for video voyeurism and potential charge Geist faced runs for 6 years. They gave me such a runaround and such a hassle, Brennan said. Brennan says she asked Posada on the phone whether expressing interest in pursuing criminal charges will make a difference in her ability to receive her police file. Okay, and finally, we have a Raging Cajun sports story. UL's Napier is on the mend, plans to be back on sideline Saturday by Kevin Foote, sports and staff writer for The Advocate. Even for 2020, this past week has been especially strange for UL coach Billy Napier. After testing negative for COVID-19 twice early last week, his symptoms worsened to the point where he tested positive. As a result, Napier is in the middle of a 10-day quarantine away from both his football team and his family. Friday will be his first day back, which makes for some very good and some very bad news. The bad news is Napier won't be with his family for Thanksgiving Day. The good news is he'll be on the sideline with his number 23 ranked Raging Cajuns when they travel to meet ULM at 2 p.m. Saturday in Monroe. And that's ranked nationally, folks. The Raging Cajuns football team is ranked number 23 in the national rankings. As the week got going there, it just got incrementally worse, Napier described this experience, and Thursday night was a tough night. Obviously, it's a little bit of a unique week here, certainly having last week's game canceled and then returning to activity Saturday. No lie, it was a rough day and a half there in terms of symptoms, but I feel great, and I've been back to normal here for a couple of days. Essentially, Napier is alone with a video set up at his disposal each day while being away from his team. He can't attend practice, but that equipment allows him to view practice videos shortly after each practice. Tough thing here is we don't get to go to practice and not going to have an opportunity to spend time with the family for Thanksgiving, Napier said. But big picture-wise, I'll get out of isolation. Friday is my last day. I'll be able to join the team. I'll drive up on Saturday morning and join the team at the stadium. Essentially, the only difference from most players is strength coach Mark Hoke will blow the whistle in between practice periods all week, as well as address the team at each practice's conclusion. With that said, Napier said perhaps it'll be a little different for the quarterbacks. Maybe some of the instruction that you'd have on the field for the quarterback, maybe some of that, Napier said, but I typically am a little slower to talk to them a lot on the field anyway. I like to kind of wait until we watch the tape and give them feedback then. Moreover, Napier is convinced the separation from his team this week won't negatively impact the occasion's performance Saturday. I'm going to do everything I typically would, Napier said. If anything, I've got a little more time because I don't have to go to practice. Everything I would do to prepare with the staff and with the players I'm going to do, there are no limitations here. There really aren't. Okay, well, that kind of wraps it up this morning. We're right at 10 a.m. We provide the local news live every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. to our visually impaired audience and to our residents in the Acadiana area who don't get a newspaper or have access to the news cycle. We bring this to you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. for just as a free service in collaboration with the Acadiana Advocate. If you'd like to become a newspaper volunteer reader, go to our website, aocinc.org, pull down the volunteer tab, fill out the form, and Miss Mandy will get back in touch with you and set you up. And all of us have been reading from our home studios since the pandemic hit. We can't go into the regular AOC studio. I miss the podcast booth so much, but I'm here at my home studio in my PJs giving you the news. We always try to do local and state and sports every morning. So thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it. As always, this is Bruce Cohen. Will always be Bruce Cohen. And I want you to stay safe and healthy and smart. Just be smart, folks. Stop the spread. Be smart. I say it every day. Just continue to be smart. Keep your social distance. I know we're in a holiday season, but we need to stay apart so we don't get sick, or if we're sick, we don't give it to others. You just heard me read the story about Coach Billy Napier having to quarantine. So just be smart. Be really, really smart about this, okay? And be kind to each other, as I say every morning. This is Bruce Cohen, and I will see you on the flip-flop. Have a great day.